Hello, everyone, and inside today's episode of Locked On Canadiens, we're going to talk 3 up, 3 down, as we do every Monday. And also, we're going to take a look at the Rocket as they have made their first round of cuts Habs have made their first round of cuts to Rocket camp. We're going to take a look at some of the interesting names there and who we should expect a lot of. And that's all up inside today's show.
For Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 697 of Locked On Canadiens. We are your daily Montreal Canadiens podcast, found wherever you listen to us, whether that be Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, wherever. Thank you so much if you are tuning in there. If you're seeing just one face on the screen this week, if you're watching on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe there, hit the bell so you get notified whenever we have new shows or go live like we've done in the past. I am one of your hosts. I am Scott Matla, and I am flying solo as my co-host is away on business travel. So I have been entrusted with maintaining your favorite Montreal Canadiens podcast this week, which is a horrifying prospect when you get right down to it. But I promise you all, we're in very good hands. We got plenty of games this week. If you're listening to this on Monday morning, which you usually are on your way to work or on your way to the gym, wherever you're doing that, the Habs play the Leafs tonight at 7 p.m. And then on Tuesday night, play the Ottawa Senators once again. So we have a very busy preseason coming up. And this week, going into the weekend, from the time we had our last show, the Canadiens have begun making their big rounds of cuts. They've cut a good chunk of their junior players back. Cedric Guindon has already gone back to junior. And then they cut Joshua Waugh and Riley Kidney have both gone back to their QMJHL teams. And Joshua Waugh in particular has had a very good start for St. John, the Sea Dogs. Once again, I believe he's had a handful of goals in just 2 games played this week, and he picked up right where he left off. But, of course, those of you who know me from my work at Habs Eyes on the Prize and general Twitter space know I am here to talk to you about the Laval Rocket. And the big round of cuts the Canadiens made at the end of last week was mainly to assign players to the AHL training camp, which opens Monday the 3rd, which is when you were listening to this, of course. And on that list was Peter Abbandonato, Anthony Beauregard, Gabriel Bourque, Lucas Condotta, Pierrick Dubé, Ryan Francis, Cameron Hillis, Danick Martel, Jan Mysak, Emile Poirier, Brennan Saunier, Brett Stapley, and Joel Teasdale for the forwards. And a good chunk of those guys are players on AHL contracts or are on professional tryouts in the case of Pierrick Dubé, who was also with the Canadiens at the Rookie Showcase here in Buffalo. There's no real surprises here. Maybe Jan Mysak, who I thought might stick around a little bit longer. But for the most part, these are guys that are on AHL deals and were expected mostly to make an impact on the Rocket offensively. On defense, it's Santino Santarame, Torey Dello, Gianni Fairbrother, Olivier Galipeau, Alex Green, John Parker-Jones, Miguel Torini, William Trudeau, and in net is Philippe DeRosier and Joe Verbatic. No one is on the injured list. There's no one else there. And I'm looking at this list, and for me, like I said, one of the few names that I was surprised didn't stick around a little bit longer with how well they played in camp was William Trudeau, who I thought has been very good since he started playing at the Rookie Showcase in Buffalo. His game doesn't have a flash and a sizzle element to it like you would see with the Matthias Norlinder or even like we've seen with Xhekaj or Justin Barron, and we'll talk a little bit about Justin Barron in the next segment here. But I thought the way that he played is a very composed, steady game, that he makes a lot of very mature and smart decisions with the puck. And I thought the Canadiens might keep him around for another game or two. And he is eligible for an AHL contract because he will be an overager in the QMJHL this year, as is Miguel Torini, who I also think will be offered an AHL contract this year. And I don't know if Torini is going to stick with the Rocket. And if he goes to the Lions, I think he's going to be an absolute star there, quarterbacking their offensive side of things. And Torini is also someone I'm kind of surprised didn't get a run in the preseason here. The Canadiens had all these bodies, and either, they just wanted to test out some of their guys who are on NHL deals or they think are going to be a factor this year, which is understandable, and that's perfectly okay. I'm really interested to see what they do with this because the Rocket are going to have more guys coming down off this roster at some point, plus trades or whatnot in the near future. I'm sure there are a lot of bodies here. In net, they're set. DeRosier and Verbatic, that makes sense. They're going to be there. Kevin Poulin will likely come down at the end of camp. He is on an AHL-only contract, so he won't be going anywhere at all. Out of the other names here, ones that I'm surprised might not have that didn't get a longer AHL or look or at the NHL level in the preseason here. I look at someone like Brett Stapley, who I think got a good run in preseason, or not preseason, the rookie showcase, is someone I have a lot of hope for coming good in the near future. I talked about Jan Mysak, who I think had a very quiet but underrated rookie tournament in Buffalo here. And I think he's going to be a really nice piece for the Rockets. He's not going to be a star right away. I don't even know if he's going to be a star, but I think he makes a lot of smart decisions, similar to what William Trudeau does, in that everything about it is just simple and it's the right move. Out of all these names, Gabriel Bork and Donick Martel are the only two who played games in the preseason, I believe. I believe Kandata might have gotten a game, but I was never anticipating him making a real push for the Canadiens roster here. And I look at this and it looks like a team that is going to be very strong on paper in the AHL this year. And I think that's good news for Habs fans who have kind of been waiting for prospects to break in and fill in those three tiers. Because there are names here that could potentially end up in the ECHL, and that wouldn't be surprising. Brett Stapley could play in the ECHL. Someone like Emile Poirier, who came over from the KHL, he was a former Flames draft pick, is someone I think is going to make an impact at both levels. Cam Hillis again as well. And there's a name I have an eye on, and I'm interested in this because he has been mentioned a ton by the Rocket social media team, and that's Ryan Francis, who's coming off a season in the QMJHL with St. John as well. He was a former Flames draft pick. They elected to not sign him. And now I'm very curious to see what he can do. He didn't wow me at the rookie showcase, but I know that there's a player there. I've talked to some of the scouting people, and they like little bits of his game. And by the time you're listening to this, they'll probably have made more cuts, probably Monday night after the game. But you are not here just for Rocket Talk. I know that you are all here for what everybody is looking forward to, and that is Monday's 3 Up and 3 Down, where we break down our 3 ups and our 3 downs of Habs systems, the NHL, anything across the board on Monday. And we're going to be starting with our down segment, and that's all coming up in one moment. But first, the numbers don't lie. In the last decade, over 4 million people have chosen SimpliSafe home security to protect their home. You don't earn the trust of that many people without doing something right. At SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters. I know because I use SimpliSafe in my own home. They protect you with cutting-edge security technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have your back. It's always great to have that bit of security. You know, sometimes you just need that little bit. You go away for a while. You want to have that extra assurance that everything you have at home is well taken care of. And with 24/7 professional monitoring, SimpliSafe's agents call you the moment a threat is detected and will dispatch first responders in an emergency, even if you're not home or can't be reached. SimpliSafe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for inside and outside your home, and smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors that instantly detect fires, floods, or other threats to your home. So right now, customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplisafe.com/LockedOnNHL, and you're going to save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. Just visit simplisafe.com/LockedOnNHL to learn more. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. We are back here at Locked On Canadiens. I am, of course, flying solo this week. I am Scott Matla, as you can see as I put my name up here in the corner, because it is just me this week. Whether you like it or not, I hope you like it, because I like you just as a friend. But we are diving into now the 3 Up and 3 Down of this week. And without Laura here to tell me that I'm being mean or that maybe I'm wrong in my analysis, I have never been wrong in my analysis. But I want to start with the down here, and I'm going to start with 2 names that I think I have very good reasoning for why they're on this list, and not because I think they are bad players or that they are going to be busts or anything like that. and that they just need a little bit more seasoning and time to develop the skills that they have. My first down is going to be Juraj Slafkovsky. And before you start yelling at me in the comments, I want to explain. Kent Hughes talked on a podcast this week saying he thought that Slafkovsky's preseason has been underwhelming. Not that he's played badly, and I do not think Slafkovsky has played badly. I think he is still an 18-year-old first overall draft pick navigating the best way to be efficient at the NHL level. And that takes time. It is not an easy thing. He's growing into a massive frame, learning how to play on smaller ice with different teammates in a different system than he has played before. I see a lot of glimpses of why I think he's going to be a very good player. And sometimes for a lot of things, it just takes that little nudge over the edge and everything just is kind of gravy after that point. And for Slafkovsky, I see it a lot. I saw it at the rookie tournament. Once he stopped trying to play hero puck and used his hockey IQ a little bit more to read things, he makes a lot happen. He makes a lot happen with his reach and with his skating. And he's still learning. And there might be some frustration when you're used to being as good as you are at hockey, when you're leading the Slovak team at the Olympics and at the World Championships, and you are that guy and you have a confidence to you. Not getting the results from the process you're putting in can be frustrating. He's only my down just because I know he wants to score that goal, and I know Habs fans want him to score that goal because when he does, it's going to feel like 10,000 suns have come off his shoulders, his very large, broad shoulders. He is a gigantic child, and he's on here, and I don't expect him to be here for long because I think he's going to put everything together in short order. He's that good of a hockey player that I very much think he's going to get this done in short order here. So I would not worry about him. I think he's going to come good in the near future, which actually leads me now to my second down of the week. And this is one that I said this on Twitter during the Senators game on Saturday night, and then he immediately kind of made me look dumb, but I am sticking to my guns here. Justin Barron should start the season with the Laval Rocket, not because I don't think he's a good player, because I think he has some warts in his game that have needed smoothing out and that I noticed at the rookie tournament and I have noticed so far through the preseason. He is an incredible skater. He is a very good shooter. In the offensive zone, he's able to make plays happen. He's able to play in transition. Positionally, he is sound. His decision-making on the puck under pressure leaves a bit to be desired at this point. If he has space to operate in, he is golden, as anyone should be when playing the sport of hockey. But I look at Justin Barron right now and I go, there's more that I want out of this. And every now and then he gets it all together and it looks good defensively and he makes the right reads. But every now and then there seems to be a little bit of a panic to his game. And I don't think that's what the Canadiens want out of him. And he's expected to play a big role this year. If he goes to the Rocket, I don't think he's going to stay with the Rocket for long because, you know what? He's going to prove his worth here before too long. I think he's got the ability to be a power play option for the Canadiens. I think he's got the ability to be a top 4 minute eater this year. He just has to mentally kind of work out some of the kinks in his game right now because he's pressured and he tends to just, make an errant pass or force a play into somewhere and it ends up going in the other direction against him. And that's creating more trouble. I look at someone like Jordan Harris or even Arber Xhekaj at this point who seem a little bit more composed on the puck. And, I get that Jordan Harris is a little bit older and that Xhekaj, has a little bit more physicality. He isn't afraid of taking the hit to make the play. Not that Justin Barron is, but I want to see a little bit more of that composure that some of these other defensive pieces have. And the same could be said of Matthias Norlinder as well, in that I think he has all the skills to put it together. There's just some little disconnects that happen that it's almost, I don't want to say it's a panic, but it kind of feels that way a little bit. And I think that a little bit of seasoning in the AHL where it's going to go, you're going to play a lot of minutes. You're going to be on the top pair. You're going to be on the top power play. You're likely going to kill some penalties. You're going to be the 3-on-3 option. You're going to be the 4-on-4 option. You're going to be the pillar on defense here because it is still a rather, up and down defense. There's some veterans. There's some young guys. There's going to be lumps there. And I would rather Justin Barron work his game out playing 22 minutes a night rather than playing 12 on the third pair in Montreal. and maybe not getting the time he needs to fully work through everything. And I think the Canadiens will do that. My last down, I wrote Mike Hoffman, which just feels like cheating at this point, but the Canadiens' power play still kind of perplexes me a little bit in that the games I've been able to watch, the system doesn't seem to work. They can't get set up. That's their issue, is that they cannot gain the zone. They're forcing things. There's a lack of patience, and I get it. There's probably a frustration and everything to it that we want to score. We want to do this. We want to do this. And they aren't able to do that. So people just start firing pucks. They start going the other way. They start going out of the zone. And it just goes to composure a little bit. Sometimes, take that breath and kind of relax a little bit. There's too much shooting talent on here. And I look at what I saw in the game against the Jets. I know that they lost, but I thought Evgeny Dadonov, Brendan Gallagher, and Christian Dvorak were a good trio. And on the power play, Evgeny Dadonov seems like the guy to operate and slow the game down the way it needs to be. In order to, get the most out of it. Trying to force things at the speed of light. It looks cool. Like, yes, you're passing with authority, and look at how snappy all these passes are. None of that matters if they don't do anything. Passing the puck really hard to each other and not getting any shots on net or just hitting shin pads doesn't mean a damn thing, unfortunately. I would rather there be more patience and pick your spots and pick your targets for that. And yes, that comes with just passing it around. It looks neat, but doesn't accomplish anything. You got to find that happy medium. And I think before too long, I'm hoping once the team is actually together, given that they're playing, so there's 4 more games this week. I figure the last 2 we'll see as close to a full lineup as the Canadiens can put together at this point. I know Sean Monahan has been skating. I know Nick Suzuki is skating. Josh Anderson is over his Spider-Man hand bite thing. So we'll hopefully see some of them soon as well. And we'll see a full strength Montreal Canadiens power play. And hopefully, maybe that's just it, is that needs Nick Suzuki as that final piece to get it clicking and running. But I can't say. I'm only paid to talk about my opinions on the internet. I'm not paid to coach the Montreal Canadiens power play, because if I was, you could just at me at Scott Matlow when things go. That is not my middle finger, by the way. I'm trying to point at my name on here. I'm using the wrong hand. There we go. If you wanted to yell at me about the Canadiens power play on Twitter, you can just follow my handle at Scott Matlow for the better part of that. When we come back, it's not all bad in Montreal. They haven't won a preseason game yet, but there are plenty of bright spots, and we're going to talk about them coming up next. All right, folks, we are back. I am solo hosting. I am Scott Matlow. This is Locked On Canadiens, your daily Montreal Canadiens podcast, and thank you for sticking with me. We are to the 3-up section of 3 Up, 3 Down, and first on my list, it was always going to be this. Cole Caufield is on my up list, and of course he is, because he has looked so much better this year than he did at almost any point last year. His engagement at all 3 zones is making him a truly dynamic threat. The game against the Jets, where he had a goal, I noticed him heavily in the offensive zone, getting shots, and Arvid Holm, it was admittedly very good in that game, denying Caufield on several chances. But where I've noticed Caufield the most so far is his engagement, back checking and playing defense and helping facilitate plays where he is not directly involved that get him involved as quick as possible. You should always want your shooters to want the puck. And Cole Caufield wants the puck. And the best way for him to do that is to help get it out of the defensive zone, to help break up plays the other way so he can get the puck back on the stick and continue shooting. And that's something I like, because he was never a bad defensive player, but he's someone that had to learn the nuances of it. And it seems he's picking up a little bit more on those. I'm not going to say he's going to be a Selke winger, far from it. But if you can become a more cromulent defensive player here, I think that there's a lot of good that's going to do, because it takes some of the burden off Nick Suzuki to do so much defensive lifting. And I really like Caufield. He looks dangerous. He looks very shifty. He looks creative. And that's what Martin St. Louis wants. He wants people to play to their strengths and to play with space and to play with pace. And Caufield is doing all those things. Caufield is the embodiment of what Martin St. Louis wants out of this hockey team. And if he wants a hockey team of Cole Caufield's, then cool, I'm all for that. But just have one like Juraj Slafkovsky. So it's like duck, 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 goose. And I think that's a good time out there. Caufield to me has been really impressive so far this preseason. I think he's obviously going to keep that top line spot. And I think he's going to hit 30 goals this year, assuming health, no lockdowns, anything like that. But I think he's going to be a breakout star this season. He already was very much in the back half of last season, but I think this year the NHL is going to learn to respect Cole Caufield a whole lot more than they might already do. My next one, Jesse Alonen. Anyone who's followed this podcast knows that when I cover the Rocket, I cannot help but fawn whatever over Jesse Alonen. He has all the skills to be a top 6 NHL player. He's got the skating. He's got the shot. He's got the handles with the stick. His pass to Rem Pitlick in that Senators game, cross zone on a tee for a slap shot, was beautiful. And that's what you want from him. You want these young guys to try riskier plays that lead to higher danger chances. You should always want them to make the best play possible. And like I said with Caufield, that's what Martin St. Louis wants. He doesn't want to coach the guy with the puck. He wants to coach the other 4 guys because that's where the puck is going. And if he's instilled in one guy playing without the puck that, hey, get here, put yourselves in these positions so that these younger guys try these higher risk plays, I'm all for that. I want to see Jesse Alonen making more saucer passes like that. He can shoot. He can also pass. He's a very good playmaker. And I know that there's a very crowded NHL lineup right now. But if I'm the Montreal Canadiens, I am trying to figure out a way as soon as possible to get Jesse Alonen in this lineup and get him on my power play. Add that dynamic element because that skating, he will go coast to coast and make it look easy. And then he will, just wire a slap shot one-timer and make it look easy. He will feed a no-look pass and make it look easy. If they give him the right spot, giving him someone like a Kirby Dach who can win board battles, or someone like a Juraj Slafkovsky on the opposite wing who's going to open up space for his shooting abilities, is going to be so, so good for this team. He did really well playing with Jean-Sebastien Dea and Raphael Harvey-Pinard last year. Teams were focused on him, allowing his line mates to open up space for themselves. If he doesn't have to be the sole focus on a line, he's going to open up those opportunities. And I think if he's in Laval, someone like Anthony Richard as his center is going to give him a lot of help. I would run a RHP Richard Alonen line in Laval, depending on what Juraj Slafkovsky does too. You could put him opposite there. Like I was saying, there are a lot of options. Someone like Jan Mysak might not even be bad for them and drop him down the lineup a little bit to get those easier matchups. But Jesse Alonen is someone who's impressing me and I think is pressing to try and stay in the NHL right now, which is going to force Kent Hughes and the staff to make some tough calls here in the following week as we get closer and closer to opening night. And my final one is Arber Xhekaj. And we've talked a lot about Arber Xhekaj on the show. We've talked about the good. He's physical. He stands up for his teammates. He's, does well with his skating and other things. We've talked about the bad, the lack of composure, sometimes not reading plays well. Since the first game of the rookie showcase, I've watched him take step forwards in each game in that his reading and composure of plays is getting so much better that I'm not worried about him stepping up to make every single hit. He is picking his spots, and when he picks them, he finishes those hits, and he finishes them with authority, and he's not taking dumb penalties. Logan Stanley, getting in that kerfuffle with Kirby Dach during the Jets game last week, Xhekaj wanted in there, but he didn't overstep his bounds. He let him know that he was there. The officials were pulling him out, and he didn't let himself take a penalty, something that, is a little bit more maturity because, he wants to get at that guy for hitting his teammate and doing what he did, but there's no reason to put yourself in a worse spot there. And to kind of parlay off of that, Kaiden Guhle, I think, is making the NHL roster out of camp. I don't see any reason why not at this point. He's been mature. He skates. He shoots better than I could have imagined. His offensive game is farther along than I anticipated it being. And Laura and I have said on the show, we've been wrong about Kaiden Guhle a lot. But he and Arber Xhekaj are, I think, the closest with Jordan Harris to making this team as it stands right now. I think Xhekaj, like Barron, could use a little bit of AHL seasoning, eat some minutes, get used to a full-fledged game where, it's not the preseason where guys are going to pull up on things where the games matter, and work on your skills and your talent here. And I really do think before long, We're going to see that call up. You're going to see number 72 patrolling the blue line, mean mugging every guy that comes within 5 feet of him. And I'm here for that. And I think Kaiden Guhle will be making this team out of camp as well. As always, sound off in the comments below with your 3 up and 3 down for this week. Tell me I'm crazy, but do it nicely, because otherwise we're just going to remove your comments, because no one needs to be a jerk on the internet, unfortunately. You can follow the podcast at @LO_Canadiens on Twitter, Locked On Canadiens on YouTube. You can follow myself at Scott Metla. You can follow my co-host at The Active Stick. I know she is away on business right now, so she may not be around as much. I will be back with another show after the Maple Leafs game on Monday night. We'll probably preview the Sens game, talk about the Leafs game, maybe do some of those mailbag questions that are kicking around. I'll get into all of that. When you're done checking me out, please go check out Locked On NHL, where all of our local experts have you covered on all the breaking news and stories around the league and the world of hockey. All right, everybody. I'll see you all next time.